let's go ahead and take a look at the ACC preseason media poll before we discuss our picks for the ACC this year. And this is how it plays out in the opinion of the nation. Clemson, Miami, SMU, Georgia Tech, Louisville. There's kind of a top 5, and then there's a middle grouping, and then there's the bottom. You got Duke and Florida State 6 and 7, Carolina 8, Pittsburgh 9, and then NC State, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, BC, Virginia, Cal, Wake, and Stanford. Anything there, Raza, surprise you?
I wouldn't say I'm surprised by anything. I will say, when I saw the release, the thing that surprised me the most was Virginia Tech receiving a first place vote. I don't know who did it.
I did see
I
that.
do not know who did it.
And it was not any of our people because we asked.
No, I asked every single person I know that was there that filled out a ballot. If it wasn't you, who was it? And nobody can seem to figure it out. So God bless you, whoever that one person is. I hope that you get the help that you need, because Virginia Tech is not going to finish first or anywhere close to first. But honestly, in the rankings, what stands out to me was probably two things. Honestly, I'm looking so intently at two teams this year. One is Florida State. Like, it just can't possibly be worse or even like it was last year. They've undergone such a roster turnover. Obviously, last year it had to have been, contextually speaking, the worst season Florida State has ever had in program history. The media says that they finished 7th. They got 4 first place votes. I don't think they're going to finish in first place either, but I think that's fair. The question for me is, like, if they don't finish in the top 5, how bad can it be? Can it be as bad as it was last year? And then I actually was surprised to see North Carolina in the top half of the league. I guess that is the Bill Belichick effect. But when I look at a team like Pitt, or I look at a team like NC State, simply based on the quarterback position, you could even make the argument for Virginia Tech. I have a little bit more faith in those rosters because I know what I'm going to get. We have zero idea what Bill Belichick and North Carolina are going to look like, whereas we have a pretty good understanding of what a team like Pitt or Virginia Tech is going to be. So I was kind of surprised to see Carolina that high, but I honestly think this is a pretty good media poll. I often have problems with it, but this one, they did a good job.
All right. Walk us through your ACC preseason predictions here.
So I'm a little chalky. Honestly, you look at me versus the media. We have the exact same top 7. So I like how I was just like, maybe they could do this, do that. And we have the exact same top 7. I do have Clemson and Miami facing off for the title. I do think Clemson goes undefeated this year. They win the ACC this year. They go 13-0, 9-0 in conference. They should be a top 2 or 3 seed in the college football playoff, all things considered. And we'll get into them in a little bit. But as you go down the line here, where I try to kind of differentiate from the media is the middle and the bottom. Like, you'll notice I have North Carolina at 11. Again, we just don't know what they're going to be. I have Pitt at 8. That is entirely because of Eli Holstein. I think he's a really, really good player. People forget Pitt was 7-0 last year.
That's right.
And then finished to year 7 and 6. So like we saw the epic highs and lows. It was really after Eli Holstein got hurt. If we see a full season of healthy Eli Holstein, I think it's very possible that Pitt could make a run towards the top 5 of the league. You also might notice I have Virginia Tech lower than the media does. I have them at 12 instead of 11. Maybe Tech would have been 12th if they didn't receive a first place vote. But I think this is a season in Blacksburg that's going to be very telling, and the schedule's not easy. They've got some tough non-conference games. The bottom is pretty easy to sort through. I feel like we all agree Virginia, Boston College, Cal, Wake, and Stanford are going to be that bottom 5. But I don't really know what to expect from the middle. We know who's going to be at the top. We know who's going to be at the bottom. And, I would love to ask you, what does the middle look like for you? Because everybody seems to have a different opinion.
Yeah, let me go ahead and walk you through my preseason predictions in the ACC. We agree on Clemson at the top. I think that's the consensus first place. I have Georgia Tech at the 2. And the reason I have Georgia Tech at the 2 is because of what Brent Key has been able to do down in Atlanta, rejuvenating that program. And I also just think that the way their schedule stacks up, if they can stay healthy, and we're going to get into it, but if Haynes King and this Yellow Jackets team can stay healthy, I think things can stack up in their favor. I have Miami right there at the 3, and really 2 and 3 are pretty interchangeable for me. I have Louisville at the 4. I'm really high on Louisville. I think what Jeff Brom has done for his alma mater is really sensational. I like what they have at quarterback in Miller Moss. I think that they have probably the best 1-2 punch at tailback in the conference. I think that Brown is an absolute dog in the backfield, and he's only going into his sophomore season. So exciting to see how that plays out. I have SMU at the 5. I got to tell you, and we're going to get into, going team by team here. I'm really not that high on SMU. I could see a serious scenario where they get a little bit of a wake-up call because of how favorable their schedule was last year. They pretty much dodged every bullet. No, I'm not taking anything away from them. What Rhett Lashley has done, what Kevin Jennings has done at quarterback, it's impressive. Don't get me wrong, but they just were able to escape a couple of tight games, and then they didn't really have to play some of the ACC's best last year en route to the ACC championship game. They gave Clemson a great fight. I think Clemson's team this year is a lot better than last year's team. And then when they played one of the big boys at Penn State in the playoff, things really unraveled. So I'm just not super high on SMU. I have Virginia Tech at the 6. And this is all, by the way, like we picked game by game, and there's a formula behind this. This isn't like we're just throwing names at a dartboard. I have Virginia Tech at the 6. I really think that their ACC schedule is fairly favorable. Duke at the 7, really high on Duke. Florida State, Syracuse. I'd love to see Syracuse bust out another 10-win season, but I think they have one of the hardest schedules in college football this year. North Carolina, NC State, Pittsburgh. I have Pittsburgh a little bit lower than you did myself. Virginia, Boston College, Cal, Wake, and then Stanford I have going winless. Raza, I'm curious, though, who do you have, like, as far as, okay, we know how they stack up in the ACC. Who do you have being like a 9-3 versus a 10-2? Who do you have winning 7 games, 8 games, going 6-6? Like, I have Clemson at 12-0. 12-0.
Yeah, me too.
I think they run the table. I think they beat LSU in the opener. I have Georgia Tech somehow at 10-2. And I really tried to find another loss, and I struggled to. I think their only losses are going to be Clemson, week 3, and then Georgia. I'm just curious to see who you had having maybe good years, but didn't stack up as well in conference play.
Yeah, so I have Miami at 9-3 versus SMU at 10-2. The difference is that I have Miami losing only 1 game within the ACC itself. Obviously, they have the tough non-conference games against Florida. That's just not exactly conducive for Miami in that particular way. I do think SMU will probably be better within the ACC itself because, again, their schedule is nothing crazy. And let's be honest, this is a very similar SMU team to the one we saw last year between Kevin Jennings and all the weapons they have on offense and a lot of guys that they still have on defense. So Miami, worse record, but better conference record to get to the title game. Georgia Tech and Louisville, I both have winning 9 games. Louisville, I have at 5-3 in the ACC, and Georgia Tech at 6-2. I do agree with you that when you look at Georgia Tech's schedule, it's kind of hard to see the other losses. I do have them slipping up at NC State late in the year because it's one of those places that is so hard when you're a ranked team going into a place like NC State and they're throwing the kitchen sink at you, trying to throw you off. It can really have a factor. So that's just one of those games I see an upset happening. I think their week 1 game against Colorado in the opener is going to tell us a lot about what this Georgia Tech team is going to be, because by all means, they should win pretty comfortably. It's one of those games that reminds me of last year, Virginia Tech against Vanderbilt. Now, I don't want to compare Vanderbilt to Colorado, but it's in the sense that, like, okay, you're expected to come in and kind of push this team around. If you get worked a little bit, but still win, okay, then it's like we've got some room to work with. If you're like Tech last year and you go in and lose that game, that could set the tone for the rest of the year. And I really feel like that's what happened last year with the Hokies. I have Duke as an 8-win team. Again, I'm pretty high on Duke as well. Listen, Manny Diaz can coach. They can coach the heck out of he can coach the heck out of a defense. And I really think, again, we'll get into them more specifically later, but they've got some juice now at the quarterback position, and their defense should still be really good. Then you get to the wall of 7-win, 6-win teams, right? So 7-5, I got Florida State, Pitt, and NC State. 6-6, I have Syracuse and Carolina. Then I have both Virginia squads going 5-7. BC, Cal, and Wake go 4-8. Stanford goes 3-9. I did give Stanford one win in the ACC against Cal because why not? It's rivalry week; anything can happen. But that's the way I see it shaking out, and I feel pretty comfortable with that. But the problem is with this conference year over year, like anything can happen. You compare last year's preseason to this year's preseason; it's so different up and down. So you really never know.
You saw Arizona State be picked to finish last in the Big 12, and here they are playing Texas in the Cotton Bowl with a chance to go to the playoff semifinal Big 12 champs. So you never know in this modern era.
Or Florida State picked to win they were 13-0 the year before, picked to win the conference, shooing for the college football playoff. They had literally the worst year ever. So you just
2 wins.
Know.
2 wins.
It's unbelievable.
I went Clemson 12-0, like I said, Georgia Tech 10-2, Miami 9-3, Louisville 10-2, but 6-2 in ACC play, so they get that 4 spot. SMU 9-3, somehow Virginia Tech 8-4. I guess the biases are playing in, but we'll talk about the Hokies. Duke 8-4, Florida State 7-5, Syracuse 7-5, Carolina 6-6, NC State 6-6, Pitt 6-6, Virginia 6-6, BC 4-8, Cal 4-8. Wake 4-8, Stanford 2-10. All right,
dang,
yeah. It's rough. But Stanford's got a tough non-conference too, though.
Dude, they do. I mean, they have to play like Notre Dame,